Picture this. A crowded Hong Kong press conference, 1998. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire. Jean-Claude Van Damme sits at the center table, muscles gleaming, ego bigger than the room itself. A reporter asks the question everyone's thinking. What about a fight with Chuck Norris? Van Damme leans into the microphone, a smirk playing at his lips, and says the words that would haunt him for years. Chuck Norris? The man is too old, past his prime. I respect what he was, but legends fade. I'm the future. The room goes silent, cameras freeze, because in the back corner, unnoticed until this very moment, sits Chuck Norris himself. He doesn't react, doesn't even blink. He simply stands, adjusts his jacket, and walks out. Van Damme laughs it off. But what he doesn't know yet is that some lessons can only be learned the hard way, and sometimes the quietest men carry the loudest truths. Jean-Claude Van Damme was on top of the world, the muscles from Brussels, the guy who could do the splits between two moving trucks. His movies were breaking box office records, his face was on every magazine cover, and his confidence had transformed into something darker. Arrogance. He'd worked hard to get here, sure, clawing his way up from nothing in Belgium to become Hollywood's golden action star. But somewhere along that climb, humility got left behind. It was March 1998, and Van Damme was in Hong Kong promoting his latest film. The press tour was a victory lap, and he knew it. Every question was a chance to remind people why he was the best. The fastest kicks, the most flexible, the most marketable. He'd transcended being just an action star. He'd become a brand, a phenomenon, a walking highlight reel. Chuck Norris, on the other hand, had been invited to the same press conference as a guest of honor, representing the old guard of martial arts cinema. At 58 years old, Chuck carried himself differently than Van Damme. No flashy entrances, no designer sunglasses worn indoors. Just quiet presence and a handshake that still made grown men wince. He'd already proven everything he needed to prove decades ago. But Van Damme saw it differently. To him, Chuck was a relic. A name from his childhood, sure. But the torch had been passed. It was his time now. The question came from a young reporter in the third row. Mr. Van Damme, fans have been asking for years, would you ever consider a film with Chuck Norris? A passing of the torch, perhaps? Van Damme's smile widened. This was his moment. Chuck Norris is a legend, he began, and the room leaned in. But legends belong in history books? The man is too old now, past his prime. I have nothing but respect for what he was, but I represent where martial arts cinema is going. Chuck represents where it's been. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Cameras swiveled to catch Chuck's reaction. He sat there, stone-faced, hands folded on the table. For 10 long seconds, he said nothing. Then slowly, deliberately, he stood up. Not in anger, not in protest. Just stood. He buttoned his jacket, gave a single nod to the moderator, and walked toward the exit. Van Damme chuckled into the microphone. See? Even now he exits like a movie. Always the professional. A few reporters laughed nervously, but most didn't, because they'd seen something in Chuck's eyes as he left. Not hurt, not embarrassment, something deeper, something patient. In the hallway, a young stagehand asked Chuck if he was okay. Chuck paused, looked at him, and said quietly, "Words are easy when you've never been tested by time. He'll understand one day." Then he walked into the Hong Kong night alone. The clip went viral before going viral was even a thing. Entertainment shows played it on loop. Van Damme calls out Norris, the headline screamed. Some fans sided with youth and flash. Others felt a bitter taste in their mouths. Van Damme doubled down in interviews, convinced he'd spoken an uncomfortable truth everyone was thinking. But something shifted in his career. Not immediately, not dramatically. Just a slow, almost imperceptible cooling. Directors who'd been calling stopped returning messages. Roles that seemed guaranteed went to other actors. His next film underperformed. Then the one after that. By 2002, Van Damme found himself taking straight-to-video roles he would have laughed at 5 years earlier. Meanwhile, Chuck Norris stayed exactly where he'd always been. Teaching, training, living quietly. His show, Walker, Texas Ranger, ended its run with dignity. He wrote books. He mentored young fighters. He didn't chase relevance because he'd never needed it to define him. Van Damme began to feel something unfamiliar. Irrelevance. The phone stopped ringing. The paparazzi moved on. At 42 years old, he was experiencing what he'd mocked Chuck for at 58, and it was destroying him. His marriage fell apart. Substance abuse crept in. The muscles remained, but the man behind them was crumbling. It's 2007. Van Damme sits alone in a gym in Brussels at 3 in the morning, watching old footage of himself. The splits, the spinning kicks, the confidence. He looks like a stranger to himself now. The mirror shows someone tired, someone hollow. Then unbidden, a different memory surfaces. He's 12 years old in Brussels, watching Good Guys Wear Black in a tiny theater. Chucknorris on screen, moving with purpose and precision. Young Jean-Claude's eyes are wide with wonder. After the movie, he tells his father, "I want to be like him." His father smiles and says, "Then you must train hard and stay humble." True martial artists are humble. Stay humble. The words echo now like a prophecy he ignored. Van Damme realizes with crushing clarity that he didn't just disrespect Chuck that day in Hong Kong. He disrespected everything Chuck represented. Longevity, grace, the understanding that being a martial artist means being a perpetual student, never a master. Chuck never claimed to be invincible. He simply remained devoted to the art, regardless of cameras or credit. Van Damme pulls out his phone. His hands shake. He finds Chuck's contact, a number he'd gotten years ago but never used. He types, "Mr. Norris, I need to apologize. Can we meet?" The response comes 3 hours later. "There's a dojo in Austin. Thursday at 6 a.m. Come as a student, not a star." Van Damme arrives at the small dojo just as dawn breaks. It's nothing fancy. Worn mats, faded mirrors, the smell of sweat and discipline. Chuck is already there, stretching, moving through forms that look deceptively simple, but require decades to perfect. "You came," Chuck says without turning around. "I came to apologize," Van Damme replies, his voice barely above a whisper. Chuck finally turns. His face shows age now, lines earned through time and wisdom, but his eyes are clear. "Apologies are words, Jean-Claude. Show me you understand." They train for 3 hours, not fighting, not sparring, just basics, stances, breathing, centered movement. Every time Van Damme tries to show off a flashy technique, Chuck stops him. "Again, slower, feel it, don't perform it." It's humiliating at first. Van Damme, the man who defined 90s action cinema, being corrected on basic forms by a man nearly 70 years old. But then something shifts. He feels it. The connection between movement and purpose. The difference between looking powerful and being grounded. During a water break, Van Damme finally asked the question burning in his chest. "Why did you help me?" After what I said, Chuck takes a slow sip, then answers. "Because I was you once. Younger. Cocky. I thought power meant dominance. It took getting older to realize power means knowing when not to use it. You didn't hurt me that day in Hong Kong, Jean-Claude. You hurt yourself. I just waited for you to realize it." Van Damme's eyes well up, not from physical pain, but from the weight of wasted years. "I'm sorry." "I know," Chuck says simply. "Now do better." Van Damme returns to Europe a different man. He stops chasing fame and starts rebuilding himself. He takes smaller roles, acts in independent films where the story matters more than the paycheck. He starts teaching, passing on what he's learned, including his mistakes. In interviews, he speaks openly about his fall and his arrogance. He tells the story of training with Chuck, always ending with the same line. "He taught me that legends don't fade because they never burn for the wrong reasons." Years pass. 2016. Van Damme is filming a documentary about his career. The interviewer asks about his biggest regret. Without hesitation, he answers, "Disrespecting Chuck Norris." Not because he's famous, but because he represented something I didn't understand yet. Time, patience, humility. I was so busy being young and strong, I forgot to be wise. The clip reaches Chuck, now in his mid-70s. He watches it alone in his home in Texas, nods slowly and sends a text. "Proud of you, brother." You found your way. So what's the lesson here? It's not about who can kick higher or move faster. It's not even about age versus youth. It's about understanding that true strength isn't measured in trophies or headlines or how many movies you've made. It's measured in who you become when the lights go off, when the applause fades, when the only person watching is the one in the mirror. Chuck Norris never needed to prove he wasn't too old because he'd already learned what Van Damme spent years discovering. That being a legend isn't about never falling. It's about what you build on the foundation of your own failures. It's about grace, patience, and knowing that respect is earned quietly every single day, long after your name stops trending. Van Damme thought legends fade, but he learned the hard way that legends don't fade. They deepen. They become teachers. They become the quiet strength that holds up the next generation. And the ones who truly understand this truth, they never need to announce it. They just live it. Because in the end, the most powerful kick isn't the one that knocks someone down. It's the one you choose not to throw, knowing your strength lies somewhere deeper than your fists. Some lessons can only be learned through time, and some teachers only reveal themselves when you're finally ready to listen.